Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I'm your president, Wilda Ream. And as you know, we start off our meetings by reciting the four-way test, so please join me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Rotarians use the Rotary four-way test to guide our actions and our words. The Rotary Club of York is committed to celebrating the diversity and uniqueness of all people, treating everyone with courtesy, dignity, and respect, and we expect the same from everyone we encounter. Embracing diversity and promoting equity is essential for the betterment of our club, our community, and the world. Today, our opening song, The Star-Spangled Banner and the Pledge, will be led by Cal Weary, followed by the invocation by past President Glenn Miller, and visitor introductions by Lisa Barshinger.
Rotarians, please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, and Shana Tova, a blessed Yom Kippur to our Jewish brothers and sisters today. From the Hebrew scriptures, hear the words of the prophet Micah. The Lord has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Let us pray. God of justice and mercy, we come to you with gratitude for the gift of community and for those within our community who labor to ensure order, fairness, and justice. We ask your blessing on our honored guest today, Attorney General Dave Sunday, upon his staff, and upon all public servants whose work serves the common good. Strengthen them with wisdom, integrity, and compassion. Through them, let your justice roll down as streams of living water, and your mercy like an ever-flowing stream. Let our time together this day be a blessing to each of us. May our food and our fellowship renew us for service in this club and the community and the world. To you, the one God of many names, we pray. Amen.
Good afternoon. I am pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Wilda has welcomed you. Jeff Vermeulen, past president, guest of past president Glenn Miller. Dr. Thomas Burns, guest of past president Glenn Miller. Michael Dewey, guest of past president Glenn Miller. Doug Key, guest of, you guessed it, past president Glenn Miller. Linda Elicker, guest of past president Lou Elicker. Bernice Quisenberry, guest of past president Jody Keller. Vinay Singh, guest of Carly Legwood. Kyle King, guest of our speaker. Tony Hampton, guest of President Wilda. And Ashley Grimm, guest of Brian Grimm. Welcome.
Visitors, we're so glad to have you with us here today. Whether this is your first time or you're back again, it's always a pleasure to have new faces in the room. Rotary is about connection, service, and making a difference, and we're excited to share that spirit with you. We hope that you feel welcome and inspired during your time with us here today. If what you see here today resonates with you, we'd love to have you consider becoming part of our Rotary family. So Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors. You may be seated. And now for some announcements. Look who's finding Rotary on the road. Past President Courtney and her business partner Christy are in India, and of course found Rotary during their travels. Looks like this club also beautified their town square. And now we have a little video from yesterday's festivities.
Anything, mind you. Dandelions, dump trucks, and Tallulah's pet alligator. Yeah, but the truth of it was, Arlo liked octopuses.
Al did a wonderful job reading yesterday. Thank you to the over 50 Rotarians who made storytime magic yesterday in 25 classrooms throughout York City as part of Rotary Reads. What a joyful and meaningful way to spend the morning. A special thank you to the Youth Literacy Committee and all the Rotarians who helped coordinate the classrooms, put stickers on over 500 books, and dropped them off at 13 different locations. And I know Brian, during all of his announcements, was warning you about the possible pitfalls of reading to small children, but look how lovely they look, and they're so cute and adorable, and they just want your attention and love. So thank you to everyone again, and here's to hoping that we can do some reading with our little friends. That hopefully that will become a regular part of our activities here in the club. I know it was literally, I was telling everybody that it would make you just feel good all day, and I think that at least from what I heard from people who participated, that certainly resonated. So if you participated yesterday in Rotary Reads, could you just stand up for a moment? Yeah, thank you. I did not see Rich Randall bring his octopus today to Rotary. So Rich, you should have brought your little friend with you. And now for some announcements. The Youth Leadership Committee will meet on October 7th at 3 o'clock on Teams. The Communications Committee will meet on October 7th at 4 o'clock at Holy Hound. Sounds like a fun meeting. The Fundraising Projects Committee will meet on October 8th at 8 o'clock on Zoom. And the PPE Committee will also meet on October 8th at 8 o'clock on Zoom. I now invite just Victoria or Glenn too? Glenn and Victoria to the podium for an announcement from the Membership Engagement Committee.
Thank you, President Road. I'm saying the wrong thing. Anyway, well, thank you. Okay, I'm all discombobulated because that was a little confusing. Members, Rotarians, the question is, how you doing, in the words of Joey Tribbiani. At 12:15 today, we want to know how we're doing and how you're doing. Please take a moment to check your email and take a 15-minute survey from the Membership Engagement Committee as part of our strategic plan. It's something that we do to make sure that this club is operating in top-notch fashion as it should be. The results we're going to be sharing with you at a meeting in November. And at the end of this month, we'll be doing a focus group with about 30 of the new members. So we're going to have some great results to share with you about things that align with our strategic plan. So please, please, please take that survey. I know it's so much fun. And also, everyone who does take the survey, a little incentive for you, you will be entered to win a drawing for a $50 gift card. So little incentive for every person, and we'll be drawing that at the November meeting. Thank you. Glenn?
All right. Thank you, Victoria. All right. So I like that. How you doing? All right. So some of the feedback we've gotten from all of you regarding social activities is for more things to be engaged with. Yes, we want to be engaged with our community. We want to be engaged with our fellow members. So 2 things that we have coming up, and do we have a slide for that? Because I did not make notes, so I need a cheater. Okay, thank you. So as some of you may know, I'm the local beer guy. So I'm also charged with the task of conducting a walking tour of York City, where we will be visiting a number of fine establishments, including Gift Horse and Collusion Tap Works and the Holy Hound, where we are going to just not celebrate and enjoy each other's company. We're going to learn about beer. Yes. So if you've always wanted to know what's the difference between a pale ale and an IPA, or what makes the difference between a porter and a stout, or perhaps even why is a sour so sour, this is your opportunity. So sign up, come on out. It's going to be a great time. As you can see, it's October 11th, starting at 1 p.m. We're going to be meeting just outside the Philadelphia Street parking garage, and off we go. Cost is $15. And somebody needs to remind me how we sign up for this, because Ann Druck asked me and I don't remember. So I want to say it's online. It's on Club Runner. There we go. Good. Okay. So if you haven't checked out Club Runner, it's on there. So the second thing that we have coming up, because if you didn't know, beer and spirits are very similar. The beginning process of how you make these products are pretty much the same, and then they go off a little bit different. So we decided we would also have, for our non-beer drinking fans, a bourbon tasting experience. Now, this one, we've invited a very special guest to join us, coming all the way down from the Poconos, a fellow by the name of Lou Bryson. I've known Lou for years, and he is nationally renowned as one of the top bourbon experts in our country. So if you've ever wanted to learn about bourbon, or perhaps you already enjoy bourbon and want to just know a little bit more, or you just want to drink some bourbon, this is a great opportunity. Lou's going to be selling his newly released book, The American Whiskey Master Class, so you can get it directly from him. And if you ask politely, he'll probably even sign it. So this one is December 4th at 4 p.m. We're going to have this over at the Center for Community Engagement. Again, sign up is for Club Runner, Ann. So make sure you sign up. We still have some seats available. We want to fill this up and have a really good time. So until then, cheers.
Thank you, Victoria and Glenn. Again, take that survey when that comes out today, and join us for some fun fellowship with these 2 opportunities that Glenn shared. At this time, I'd welcome past President Josh George to the podium for new member inductions.
Thank you, President Wilda, and good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. As always, it is my pleasure to introduce some new members to our club. Today, we have 4 new members, and we're on a pretty good streak. We've been adding members at a nice clip here. We'd like to thank all of you for your help in making that happen. Clearly, I am not the one who brings the members in, and in fact, I'm known for getting rid of the most members of the club. But I just wanted to beat that to punch, because, you know, Phil Woods is usually the one who makes fun of me for that. So I just wanted to get that out there. So without further ado, today we have 4 new members to welcome to our club, and we will go in alphabetical order. First, we have Eric Holy. Eric, if you could raise your hand and wave and smile. Eric is from Waxahachie, Texas, where he went to Waxahachie High School, went on to earn his Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Texas, and his JD from the Oklahoma City School of Law. Oklahoma City, there we go. Yeah. He's an attorney with MPL Law Firm, and he is also retired from the U.S. Marine Corps, where he served as a corporal. His community service includes he is a member of the York Chess Club, he is a member of the York County Bar Association, and a member of the American Association of Professional Landmen. His hobbies include ham radio and chess. And he is a previous Rotarian in the sense that he was a Rotary exchange student to Germany in 1996. So he's had Rotary in his life for a long time, and it's great to have him as a member of our club. He is proposed by Leanne Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Holy. Next, we have David Milujan. David, if you could smile and wave. David is from Lewisville, Texas, where he went to Lewisville High School and went on to the University of North Texas, where he earned his Bachelor in Business Administration. He is the recently appointed general manager of the Yorktown Hotel. I would encourage you all to stay there, even if you live in York. He is a past chair. His community service includes past chair at Fairfax County Convention and Visitors Corporation. He's a past chair for the Salvation Army Advisory Board in Fairfax, Virginia also. And he is alumni of, I love this one, the FBI Field Office Citizen Academy. Ask him about it. His hobbies include fishing and spending time with his kids. He is the father of Joseph, who is 27, Benjamin, who is 25, and Amy, who is 22. He is a previous Rotarian, both in Herndon, Virginia and College Park, Maryland, and he is proposed for membership by Michael Hady. Ladies and gentlemen, David Milujan. Next, we have one of our favorite kinds of Rotarians. We have a retread. This is Mike Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you know Mike. Mike is a graduate of Central York High School and went on to York College, where he earned his Bachelor of Science in Business, and then is also his MBA from York College. He is the recently appointed president and CEO of the YMCA of the Roses, having taken over for Larry Richardson, fellow Rotarian Larry Richardson. His community service is extensive, as you might expect. He is on the United Way of York County Emerging Leader Society. He's a board member for the Panther Foundation, past president for York City Little League, volunteer for Junior Achievement, just to name a few on the extensive list. His hobbies include golf, camping, and motorcycles. He's married to Alicia, and they are the parents of Bella, who is 20, Camille, who is 14, and Brennan, who is 11. He is a past member of the York, Hanover, Southern York County, and Lancaster Rotary clubs. Very impressive career in Rotary. He is proposed for membership by President Wilda. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Smith. And finally, today we have Joseph Young, goes by Joe. Joe is a graduate of York Suburban High School, and he went on to York College of Pennsylvania, where he earned his Bachelor of Arts in Entrepreneurship. He is the president of White Rose Realty. His community service includes, he is the founder of the Impact Society at York Suburban, and he is also a volunteer for Hands-on Helpers Committee at RAAC. His hobbies include bread making, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, fishing, and gardening, and he is proposed for membership by Frank Countess. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Young.
Well, welcome to the club, gentlemen. I'm so glad that you've joined us. You're now part of a community that cares deeply about making a difference right here in York and around the world. We're excited for the energy, the talents, and perspective that you bring. I know you're going to find meaningful ways to get involved, committees to join if you haven't already, and I hope you build some lasting friendships along the way. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention it was my honor to propose our Mike Smith, who is part of the leadership training program, best class ever, along with the Grimms back there. So we're representing strong in Rotary Club this year. So thank you so much. And Rotarians, please help me welcome our new members. And now, past President Mike Summers will come to the podium to introduce our speaker for today.
Good afternoon. Our speaker today is Attorney General Dave Sunday. As most of you know, Dave was our district attorney for 2 terms before ascending to serve as Attorney General. Dave Sunday's life is marked by service. After high school, he enlisted in the Navy, and following Navy service, he returned to Central Pennsylvania and worked his way through college and law school. Opportunity brought him to York County, where he clerked for a York County judge and then found his way to York County District Attorney's Office. During his time there, he prosecuted everything from DUIs to capital murders, working his way up to Chief of Litigation. As mentioned, Dave was elected as the District Attorney of York County twice. During his time in office, he focused not only on the prosecution of crimes, but also on the prosecution of preventing it. He stated, he started initiatives focused on the mental health crisis, substance abuse, violence reduction, reentry, and reducing recidivism. Through the work of the office and the support of the health, nonprofit, and law enforcement communities of the initiatives, crime went down and prison populations decreased. Based on his record in York in 2024, Sunday ran successfully to become Pennsylvania's Attorney General, and he's sworn into office in January. Dave will present about the lessons he learned while serving as the York County District Attorney, how he applied them throughout the Commonwealth in his role as Attorney General. He will speak about the path to the office of Attorney General and how it came to his philosophy of criminal justice, accountability, and redemption. He will speak about the structure of the office of Attorney General and his priorities in his time in office. Fellow Rotarians and guests, please warmly welcome Attorney General Dave Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here with everyone. And I know people talked about their hobbies earlier. Well, one of mine is getting destroyed in tennis by Vinay Singh, who's sitting right here. And I mean that with all sincerity. So I know I don't have a lot of time today. So for the next 90 minutes, we're going to go over, just joking. So I actually have speechwriters now, and I'm going to ignore that. And I'm just going to kind of talk briefly about the Attorney General's office and, what that's like in relation to being district attorney. So, you mentioned my background briefly. For those of you that I haven't met, which is actually, there's some people in here that I have not met before. I was a bit of a knucklehead when I was a kid. I joined the Navy out of necessity. And so I was 18. I just went to the recruiter, just joined the Navy and went off. I was deployed all over the world, Desert Strike. Spent a lot of time in Central and South America. Did tons of work in the Navy and came home. I then went to Hack. I worked at UPS for 8 years, and it was an amazing part of my life. I went to law school at night. And and I'm giving you the abbreviated version because most of you have already heard it, and some of you could probably quote it, and I apologize to you for that. So I ended up, my wife is from Sri Lanka, and she and I met in New York at an internship at the United Nations. And so I ended up by some miracle of God convincing her to come to Central Pennsylvania. She came, she cried for 18 years. She's now stopped recently. And so we have a son, Bodie, who's 10. And I ended up got a job here at the York County District Attorney's Office. I was hired by Stan Rebert. I know many of you in here remember Stan the Man. Those were very different times. There was no internet when Stan was a DA, nor was there social media. And I know some of you in here understand what I'm saying. So, I mean, I just have to say it's an absolute complete honor to be here with every one of you. York County is my home. I feel so blessed to be a part of it. And as I go around Pennsylvania, a lot of the initiatives and the noise I'm making tie back to my work here in York County. There are companies that are sick of hearing about companies in York. There are hospital systems that are sick of hearing me say the words WellSpan or word WellSpan. And, I talk about York College, the amazing things that's done in York College, the DA's office, the police, the Bar Association, and everybody in between. So with that being said, I want to start by talking a little bit about why I ran for district attorney. And the reality is this: I spent a lot of time in a courtroom staring at juries, convicting people of crimes, everything from DUIs to death penalty cases. And through the course of my time as DA, I realized that there has to be sort of a better way to do this, right? And what I mean by that is, and I'll give you an example of a case that has stuck with me, and I don't know if I've talked about it before, but there was a young man. He was 16 when he committed his first homicide, and then he was 18 when he committed his second and third homicides. And I was assigned to prosecute his case. And so I spent literally like 3 months of my life in a courtroom with this defendant. And so he was convicted of the first case and received life in prison. And then he was convicted of the second 2 cases. And so he received a second and third consecutive life sentence. And so in Pennsylvania, that means he's never coming out of prison. He's going to die in jail. It's that simple, unless he receives a commutation, which is highly, highly unlikely. And so I'll never forget, during the course of that trial, it was one of the most gut-wrenching, just horrific things I've ever seen. I mean, 2 of the people that he killed were brothers, the only children in a family. And I remember at the end of the third sentencing, you know, behind me, and those of you who've been in court, I know Glenn spent a lot of time in court. I'm not sure who else is here. And so, but behind the Commonwealth was a packed house, totally full. You had victims' families, you had prosecutors, you had police, and everybody was back there just rooting for this kid to go to jail forever and die in prison, right? And I'm sitting there and thinking about this. The judge sentenced him, and I'll never forget, this was like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years ago. And I looked over at him. And so he was 18. He just received consecutive life sentences. And there was not one person, not one, that cared enough about him to come to court that day, to see him walk away through those doors. And anyone that's been in a courtroom knows those doors, walk through those doors, literally never to come back and die in jail. And it really impacted me, because I'm thinking, like, God, where are we? Like, what has happened in his life where, you know, not one person cared enough about where he was? Like, what happened to him? You know, what are things that we could have done differently in the course of his life to change it? And that's really what got me headed down the path of asking ourselves, what can we do different to keep people out of prison, or to keep people from committing crimes in the first place? And so there are people that need to go to jail, period. And we're very good at that. And I'm going to talk about that. We're going to get to that, I promise. But at the same time, and everyone knows this because Rotary, and I thank you, you've been such huge supporters of these initiatives, of the group violence initiative, of work we've done with regard to substance abuse, of work we've done in the space of the mental health crisis, reentry. I mean, you guys have been partners through this. I've spoken to you multiple times about it. And so we headed down that path. And I will tell you that while I was here in York amongst you doing these things, you know, we live in our own world, right? And we view the world through the lens of our experiences. And so I'm thinking, you know, we have all these things kind of working here. This is amazing. I have no doubt that this is happening in other places, right? And so I realized through the course of being the elected DA and working in the DA's Association, like with all my colleagues around the state, that wasn't the case. That most of the places around the state were not doing the types of things we were doing. And as I grew through my professional career, I started to get a lot of joy out of these initiatives where we were able to look up and say, hey, we're saving taxpayers millions of dollars. Our prison population's down. Our homicides are down by 90%. We have people that are getting mental health treatment instead of going into a prison. If you look at the worst crimes in our society, and if you look at like horrific murders, I'm telling you right now, if you walk backwards through that person's life, the defendant, you will see at some point they touched the criminal justice system and through a mental health crisis, and nothing was ever done about it. And so I'm thinking about that, and to be frank, like I sat down with my wife, some of you know her, and we, you know, I was like, well, I think that, you know, I'm really fired up about this. I think that the people would like to see more initiatives like this. And she's like, you have no chance. And so, and and I love her dearly. And those of you that know her could see the whole conversation going down. And so, and I said, "You mean no chance?" She goes, "Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens." And so, I sat down and I just started on this journey, and here I am. So, and she still is generally supportive. So I think we're in a good place, right? So, so to that point, you know, these initiatives, and I mean this again with all sincerity, that have come out of York County are things that I trumpet all over Pennsylvania. Now, I want to pause a moment because I've talked to you many times about the DA's office. Well, now I'd like to talk to you about the Attorney General's office and tell you about sort of how the office is made up. What are the types of things we're working on? I have no doubt that when I'm done, there will be no questions. And there are some things going on societally right now. Today, actually, I just realized when I was walking in here, so federal government shut down and the state doesn't have a budget. But do you know who is working? The Attorney General's office. So I just wanted to put that out there, right? So we're here. So there are so the Attorney General's office is divided into three parts. The largest part is the criminal division, right? And so the criminal division in Pennsylvania, the way it works is that when the district attorneys have a conflict, they send it to us. If there's a resource issue, so for example, a lot of cases are complex, they're over multiple counties, and a lot of DA's offices, they don't have the resources for that, they'll send it to the AG's office. There are tons of cases that we, by statute, have co-original jurisdiction on that we have giant sections for. And those include, we have a huge child predator section, we have environmental crime section, we have gun violence section, we have financial crimes section, we have a huge Medicaid fraud section, and Pennsylvania actually has the highest amount of criminal charges for Medicaid fraud in the entire country. We have a huge organized crime section, we have public corruption section, we have I don't know if I said human trafficking, but we have a huge human trafficking section, and we have an organized retail theft section. And we can talk about, and I'd like to kind of tie some of that together in a second. So in addition to that, and I know we don't have much time, so that's why I'm talking kind of fast. So I know you guys all have jobs, I believe. You probably have to go at some point. So in addition to that, anything that goes through the statewide grand jury, we prosecute. Okay, so those are a lot of cases. A lot of the counties across Pennsylvania don't have the robust, they're just different. Every county's different. And so some have resources in some places, but not in others. And so the Attorney General's office all over Pennsylvania works with the police departments to do a lot of like undercover drug work, large scale drug investigations, gang investigations, gun trafficking investigations. And just by way of an example, this was about a month ago, we had a huge bust in Philadelphia. And so when I was in York, I always told people, you cannot separate York County from York City. It's one body. It all works together. You can't, the health of one impacts the health of another. Well, now I'm doing the same thing, but it's with regard to Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and everything in between. And so we had a huge fentanyl arrest in Pittsburgh, in Kensington. Some of you may be familiar with Kensington from the news. And there were over 200,000 packets of fentanyl, 200,000 that were already packaged, and they were en route to Pittsburgh. And so that's the type of work that we're doing in the AG's office. Same thing in Pittsburgh, where we have like giant arrests like that as well. The second section or division in the AG's office is a civil section. So a lot of people don't know this, but the Attorney General defends all of the state agencies in court when they get sued. All right, so I'm not advocating for this. I just want to make that clear. But if someone, hits a pothole and wants to sue PennDOT or something, like you're going to have an AG attorney that will be in that courtroom defending that case. And so the civil section is big, it's robust. There's a huge civil appellate component to it. And another part of this is we defend statutes. And so, and I'm going to talk in a second about the priorities that I put out to our office, but it's very important to me to make sure that we follow the law. And I mean that in a completely nonpartisan manner. And in Pennsylvania, the statute says very clearly that the Attorney General shall defend the constitutionality of statutes. And so what I mean by that is, for the non-lawyers in here, let's say someone sues someone for something and they're claiming that a statute is unconstitutional. Well, an AG lawyer walks into that courtroom and defends it. And so on day one in the office, I brought everyone together and I said, this is how this is going to work. If we love the statute, if we hate the statute, if we're indifferent about the statute, it doesn't matter. We will go into court and we'll defend it, because if we don't defend statutes, then we're giving the legislators kind of a free pass, because then they don't have to have that battle to get to yes, because they know some attorney general is just going to basically ask someone to sue and then say, oop, I agree, and so I've refused to do that. And so I have successfully irritated the entire political spectrum in 9 months. Trust me, I have. I promise you. I promise you. So and so I've defended things but that's what we're going to do, because that's our system. And our system is built in a manner that the state legislature and the governor have they have an expectation, because the law is clear, that the fights that they do to pass laws will then be defended by the attorney general. If that didn't exist, if that precondition didn't exist, and I were a legislator, who knows what would happen? And so that's a really important part of this. The Public Protection Division is a third division. And so that's the third of the three. It's a really big division. And this is the division that's proactive on things. So the Public Protection Division is our consumer protection office for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so I feel very honored by this, that we have a National Association of Attorney General. Okay. So like the way it works is, and I'm giving you guys a little bit of a different speech than I really give anywhere else. So, because I know I'm amongst friends and no one will talk about it. So the way that it works is, so you have the Republican Attorney Generals Association. You have the Democrat Attorney Generals Association. And then you have the National Association of Attorneys General. And there's a fourth group that I don't understand why they exist, but they go on nice trips. I have not gone on one yet. So the National Association of Attorney General is where everyone comes together for the good of humanity. And so I was appointed to be the co-chair of the largest bipartisan committee that exists in the country. That's the Consumer Protection Committee. And so it's me and the Illinois Attorney General. And so we collaborate together on these huge consumer protection issues across the country, like every day. It's awesome. I love doing it. I found a lot of passion. It's such a huge issue, and we can talk about any of this stuff. So with regard to that, we're talking about a lot of the scams with seniors, which we could talk about for days. We are talking about companies that scam citizens and take advantage of them. We're talking about charitable trusts that violate their legal duties as a charitable trust. We're talking about, we have a civil rights section that does a lot of really good work. We have a fair labor section. We have a healthcare section. And we obviously have the Office of Consumer Advocate, which is the one position that I appoint that has to be approved by the Senate. And it's an independent position. So once I made that appointment, that person's on their own to go do their thing. And so that's, again, the Office of Consumer Advocate. Some of you may be familiar with that in some form or fashion. And so in the office, we have around 1,100 employees. We have 16 offices around the Commonwealth, physical spaces, 280 lawyers. We have like 580 agents that are police officers that work for us. And so it's a little bigger than the York County DA's office, but people are people, right? And so when you treat people with respect and you let them know what you want them to do, good things happen. For those of you that were worried about the state of the state, I will tell you that I took two of York County's finest, absolute finest, actually two of them are in here, public servants with me on this adventure I'm on. So Scott James over there was the chief county detective in York, who is now head of my security detail. I brought him because of Victoria, because sometimes she gets a lot of hand. So that's why so my chief of staff in the Attorney General's office is Kyle King, who many of you know him, an amazing, amazing public servant. My right-hand man, and Kyle is doing a lot of work on a statewide level and across the country. And so he's fantastic. And my first deputy attorney general, who's not here today, is Kara Bowser, who was my first deputy here in the DA's office. And so York is well represented, and we're, doing our York County thing all over the place. So when I took office, I wanted people to know my priorities. And so I put them in writing and I put it out to the entire office. So as you're going about your business in your life, I wanted the people to understand, and Kyle has created a system to measure outcomes. I know some people care about measuring outcomes, and they have grilled me on that as district attorney previously, and I know they won't say anything today. So, and so I put 10 priorities out to my office, okay, geared towards different sections, and a lot of this sort of, crosses over each other. The first one is mental health. We have an absolute mental health crisis in Pennsylvania. It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. It's impacting families, our economy, the criminal justice system. And so we are very proud in about, I think in 3 weeks-ish, we have an announcement with a couple counties that are the first ones to sign on to my attempt at taking the START clinic and what we're doing here in York and taking it across all of Pennsylvania. And so we'll be announcing that in a couple of weeks, where that is a collaborative effort between the police, the prosecutors, and different mental health providers in the community. So the people that are in the throes of a mental health crisis have that opportunity for outpatient treatment, which is unbelievably important. And so thank you, all of you that have been supportive of that. And you're going to see a lot more of that. I talk about the mental health crisis literally, like I could be here today to talk about the Eagles, and I'll find a way to work in like the mental health crisis because of how important it is. Human trafficking is an absolute travesty around Pennsylvania. I have seen behind the curtain on the impact of technology on creating an environment that makes it easier for bad guys to get to kids. It is super, super scary. My son's 10. I'm afraid of the world that he has to grow up in. And so we have a lot of power in the Attorney General's office, not only to go after the bad actors who are facilitating this and doing this online, but to really go after the companies that have chosen to completely neglect their duty for public safety with regard to some of these. And you'll see you'll see some of this coming out in the news shortly on that front. Elder abuse and senior scams, second highest amount of senior citizens in the entire country are here in Pennsylvania. I will say I recently turned 50 and I'm now a member of ARP, which is kind of like weird, but it is what it is. My wife actually signed us up, and my mom called me and she was like, "You get great discounts on glass frames." So, I'm like, all right, I digress. Reentry. So you guys know that's near and dear to my heart. When I worked at UPS, I work with people on probation, parole, work release. When someone has a career job, when they come out of prison, the data is overwhelming that the likelihood of them committing more crimes goes way down. It puts people in a position to take care of your family, to pay taxes, pay restitution. It's good for society. And so I'm working with the Pennsylvania Chamber, the U.S. Chamber, the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association, and many others to create a pathway for employment for people that are coming out of prison. I think it's the absolute key to victory. A lot of these individuals literally have never had a paycheck in their life. And you see magic happen when people get paid and realize they have the ability within themselves to change their lives. And it's just one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I think it's critical. So gun violence, I don't even know where to begin on that. In the office, we have a gun violence task force, and it is crucial because a lot of the work we do is going after the straw purchasers, going after the people that are trafficking illegal firearms all over Pennsylvania, where we can go in and really get into these organizations. At the same time, the GVI here in York, Group Violence Intervention, most of the counties don't even know what that is. So I've been on a mission to go all across Pennsylvania to make people understand what that is. We've advocated for funding for people if they want to get started in it. Protecting children. I will tell you right now that there are wonderful, beautiful, amazing things that come with AI. There are. And technology. Everybody knows that. But just like any tool, if used incorrectly, bad things happen. And, it is very, very scary, the access that children have on the internet and social media. It's like nothing that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, when I was a kid, if someone wanted to get to me, they had to physically come to my house, and they'd have to go through my dad. He's old, he's grumpy now. But back then, I promise you, it would not have been pretty if that happened. I have seen cases all over Pennsylvania, in rural Pennsylvania, where parents don't even understand because they're just trying to get through the day. They're working, right? And their kid is online on a gaming system They are talking to people they think are other kids. There's 50-year-old men, 60-year-old men in places in other states, and they are slowly putting them in a position where they will, and we have seen it, take advantage of these individuals and these kids, lure them to places. It is absolutely like repulsive. And so that's a priority in my office. Consumer protection is critical. Healthcare accessibility. I had a 6-month boot camp in healthcare law and the issues surrounding the economic issues surrounding hospitals. Some of you may saw, I don't know if you saw in the news, but in Delaware County, there was a hospital that went under closure. And it is an absolute, like, that is super important. We have to do everything we can. And in my office, it's an important part of my office because we oversee all charitable trusts in Pennsylvania. And the vast majority of hospitals are nonprofits. And so there's a lot of back and forth right now, tremendous amount of conversation, proposed legislation on what is the role of private equity in healthcare. This is really, really complex because no one quite knows what's going to happen with Medicaid. And for those of you that understand the economic powers behind hospitals, Medicaid reimbursement rates are a huge part of it. And so this is a very serious, I'm kind of talking myself out of wanting to be AG as we're going through this, to be honest. Like illegal drug use, substance abuse is even worse than it was in a lot of ways. The drugs are even more powerful. We're seeing this all over Pennsylvania, everything being laced with everything else. Pills right now, it's a huge issue where people have pill presses in their homes, kids do, and they're just getting stuff on the dark web. They're just making pills. The pills actually look like better than the real pills. It's super scary. And then the last thing, and this is not in any order, is defending the rule of law, which comes down to what I told you about defending statutes and being the attorney general, regardless of whether, I agree with a statute or not. I want to say, and I know I'm going to stop here because, I probably already blew out my time, but I covered a lot. And that is that, I think, and I feel I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We have a lot of challenges in today's society, right? And so, the greatest successes that I've had in my entire career have been obviously here in New York, working with other people, working together, where we looked at outcomes, and that's kind of what drove what we did. And the hardest thing for me when I became Attorney General was on day one, the kick in the face of politics, right? And so I made a decision, and that's when I said, this is what it is, my friends, and we're going to follow the facts and the law. We're going to do our job. We're going to do it right. And I will tell you that, and I said, and we will do it in a way that we work literally with everyone. There is no, and my hope is that we have a world where that is something that people want. Maybe they do. If they don't, like I said, I think I can find a job somewhere. I think I'm marketable. But I was recently, so there's this fellowship called it's really like kind of nuanced. Most of you probably never heard of it. It's called the Rodell Fellowship. Has anyone actually even heard of that? Okay, I figured. So every year they pick 12 Republicans and 12 Democrats from across the country. Okay, and it's a 3-year fellowship. And this was originally out of the Aspen Institute. And so they pick, like I said, 12 and 12. You have to be nominated by someone from the other party. And you end up spending 3 years, not 3 years, but multiple times a year you get together. And have very serious conversations. It's a lot of work, actually. And so I was honored. I found out a couple weeks ago that I am a Rodell Fellow for this year. And so it's pretty cool. Yep. And so I think it's an honor. I think it's wonderful that, I'm in this position where someone from the other party wanted me to do that. And it was an attorney general from another state. And I think that, the way that I treat my job and the way that I handle it is really a product of the lessons I learned here. And I mean that with all sincerity. It really is. Like, regardless of what goes on around you, people need to understand that there are wonderful, amazing things happening every day here in York County. I see it, I hear about it, I watch it, I was a part of it. And, my belief is that, you treat people how you want to be treated. And so, you know, this is the way that I've chosen to handle this office. I will say that, and I have a few stats here because I will tell you when I was the DA, it basically was Kyle and I putting together speeches. Now that we have like an army of people that do it, not as many as a governor. I just want to make that clear. And so actually we have a small platoon. He is an army, but but they put a lot of great stuff. So I wanted to know the following question. I said, how many potentially fatal doses of fentanyl have the Attorney General's office confiscated so far this year? How many so far this year? So they put the number together for me, 40 million. 40 million potential fatal doses of fentanyl has been removed from the Attorney General's office by the AG's office in the last 8 or 9 months. And so I share that because, thank you, I appreciate that. That's a big, big deal. That's a huge deal. And so that's a type of work that I want to be known for, is those type of things where I can sit here and talk about, here are the things we did. Like, I may not have tweeted about it. I may not have, whatever other social media is out there. But these are things that are happening and they're unbelievably important. We seized over 318 guns, illegal firearms so far this year. That is a lot of illegal firearms. In addition to that, I talked about organized retail theft. That is a huge issue all around Pennsylvania. Those cases are driven by very serious organized crime. The individuals that are doing it are typically people in the throes of addiction. And so we are going after the big people that are making tons and tons of money off of it. It ties into human trafficking, organized crime, all of it. And so we have cases now that are open in 46 of the 67 counties, which is super important as well. So I'm going to stop. I put a lot of information out there. I apologize for that, but I don't get here in front of you often, even though I live very, very close. And so if there's time, I don't know if there's time. Do we have time for a question or two? If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, and it's really hard, Kyle King, my chief of staff, he'll be more than happy to field it. So yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I am interested to know if there is a culture of use of drug courts in any of the counties in the state.
Yes. So
that'd be very effective in other states.
Yep. A lot of counties are, I don't know what the exact number is, but there are a lot of counties that don't utilize treatment courts. There are some that embrace it. There are a lot of the problems because we have so many rural counties in Pennsylvania that they don't have the resources and they don't even have the amount of people necessary to even go into the courts. And so what we're looking at right now is trying to figure out a way, maybe can you do it regionally? But there's got to be a way to do it. I appreciate you bringing that up. Treatment courts are, they are data-driven, they're evidence-based. The outcomes, no one can argue with the outcomes. And so I appreciate you saying that. Yep.
Hi, Dave.
Hello.
I want to, he didn't plant me here, but I do have 2 things to talk about: how hard his team works and how they get things wrong and how they get things right. And in the past 9 months, I've had 2 interactions, both personally and professionally, with the AG's office. Personally, I had a hand surgery where I was asked to pay up front at the time of my procedure for the dollars, almost $2,000. And then I was told, that's not right. You should contact the AG's office. And so I did. And within 24 hours, I got a response from my investigator. They contacted the institution and the funds were restored to me. So kudos to you. The other one, professionally, and this was half right, half wrong, we have a trust that was terminated and given to us. And I was asked for an accounting. So the right part is they're looking into how you're spending money and making sure, if you're a nonprofit, that you're spending the money according to how the trust operates. My reply was, I'm happy to give you all that documentation, but honestly, that trust was terminated and the funds belong to us. So we went back and forth and they said, it's our obligation to make sure, even if the trust has been terminated, to monitor this. And so it was a really good experience, and Dave's team is working hard. Those are just 2 examples of
that.
easy work that they're doing, not the hard stuff. So thank you, Dave, and to Kyle and Lieutenant.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Dave. You mentioned protecting children
Yep.
and AI and social media. So there are a lot of parents and grandparents in the room. What advice would you give in regard to posting pictures of children on social media?
I mean,
Minors.
I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm going to take it to the extreme. I mean, I just don't think you should do it unless you have a way to make sure, like, for example, if it's on Facebook, make sure you have all the security, everything on Facebook's turned on, all the security features, so people that you don't want looking at it can't see it. I mean, that is unbelievably important. You know, I will say that we have a law now in Pennsylvania where we have child sexual abuse material that is AI generated. And a lot of that's generated off of pictures that people find that they can find on the internet. And so they might find a picture of your child, and then, you know, a month later, we see a similar face doing things that no one would ever want to see. That happens way more than you know, to the point where there's like apps that are coming out like every other day that kids can go in to make pictures like that. So very simply, I would be very, very cautious. I don't think you should hide in your basement. I think that you should do it, but just make sure if it's on Facebook, have all the security features turned on so that the public can't like access it. I would say that, you know, also, honestly, just common sense. But you just know this: whenever you put something online, just say to yourself, other people will have this. Am I okay with that? And that's really the best way to do it. Other people will have it. Are you okay with it? That's it. Yep. Anything else? All right. Oop.
Dave, thank you. That was a very instructional talk, at least for me. In 15 seconds, what is your observation? Are we actually making progress on the war on drugs in reducing the amount of drugs coming in? And as you say, you found 40 million packets. That's more than all the people in Pennsylvania. But is there a decrease? Is law enforcement actually making an effect in this country?
So the answer to that is yes, but it's not just through attacking the supply, it's through attacking the demand. And so that's why you have to aggressively help people get into treatment. You have to keep people from turning to drugs in the first place. Over the last decade, physicians have really changed a lot of their prescription practices, you know, with regard to opioids. The challenge, though, is that the drugs now that we're finding are manufactured in like these dirty labs in Mexico, and it's so small that those drugs are coming into the US through the ports of entry primarily. And so, for example, I took a tour of the ports in Philadelphia, and this is public information, but on average, I think it's maybe 2 to 5% of all incoming shipments are able to be viewed because there's so much of it. And so if you think about that, I mean, there's going to be drugs in there. And what has also happened is because of the amount of money that's made off of this, they're just making the drug stronger and stronger. And so the fentanyl that we see now is now even stronger than it was a couple years ago. But the long and short of it is this: are we winning a battle? I can't really answer that. But what I do know is if we don't fight it, then it'll be absolutely horrific. I mean, when I was a kid, if you made a mistake, you'd have a hangover for a day. And I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that that's very, like, you did. In today's world, if a kid makes a mistake, they literally could die. First mistake, death. And so because the room for error, the margin for error is so thin, we have to fight the battle regardless of, you know, if we win it or not. That's my answer. So, yep. Awesome. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Goodness. All right, thank you, Attorney General Sunday, for sharing your journey with us and giving us such thoughtful insight onto how your experiences here in York have shaped your approach at the state level. And thank you for representing York County so well across the Commonwealth. Your reflections on accountability, redemption, and public service are not only timely, but also inspiring for all of us as leaders. We appreciate your time with us today and wish you continued success as you carry this important work forward in the Commonwealth. And as you know, as our Rotarians know, our speaker will sign a book plate to be donated to the YWCA Early Learning Center in York City, along with a bookmark made by students by students at Creative York. And of course, it's Arlo Draws an Octopus. So, and I have read this book now. I'm still catching flack about that purple book. Can't even remember what it is now. Yeah, the purple crayon. Anyway, next week, we'll hear from Rotarian Jen Hitz, the president and CEO of Leg Up Farm, a nonprofit pediatric therapy center for children with special needs. Jen is excited to lead Leg Up Farm as she sees firsthand the life-changing impact that its therapy services have on special needs children. She will share the story of Leg Up Farm's founding to its current place in the York County nonprofit tapestry. Jen will be joined by Dan Stump, manager of Leg Up Farmers Market, featuring local, organic, and sustainable groceries. The market's primary goal is to support Leg Up Farm. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Enjoy your afternoon.